Hello again, ladies and gentlemen. This is Bobby Mills for theindependent.com with another version of Bobby Mills Independent Sports Talk. On my right and your left, E-Dub Eric Williams and the famous Jimmy Langin on my left. We're going to talk about boys and girls basketball today, fellas. And let's talk a little girls basketball. There's Jim, you were there at the GICC early. I don't think you had a girls game.
Yeah, I did.
Did you do Gretna
girls?
Okay,
Girls. Yeah,
pretty good basketball.
Real good team. I mean, I remember the very first game. The score was 13-12, and you remember this too. There were 6 minutes to go in the first quarter. Everybody was knocking down threes.
And it was, what was it, 41-40 at the half? I'm going.
Gretna, yeah, was playing. And that was the losers bracket game. And I ran by both coaches and said, "Who did you lose to?" And they both kind of laughed because they knew they were shooting it really well. But Gretna's 3-1 now on the season, and their loss was to Scott. And Scott's really good too.
Yeah, they were preseason top 5 going into it. So, I mean, they've had good competition. Like you said, Scott being one loss. But it's a good basketball team that is only going to get better as early as it is right now.
You know, what a great tournament for an early season tournament to get that organized with 8 teams like that. Parkview Christian's good. They're Class D2. But you have Gretna playing in that. You got Grand Island Central Catholic. I mean, just Scott, Norfolk Catholic. I mean, just a really good group of teams playing basketball.
It's a good way to start out, isn't it? Measuring stick or
right. You know, not only a measuring stick, but how quickly can guys adjust on the fly? I mean, it's back-to-back days, so it's not like you're getting ready for, you know, you got a day in between to where you can get ready. It's a good tournament. You got good competition, and then it's a quick transition and how well you can adjust on the fly. It's a really good start for a lot of these teams.
Yep, and yeah, especially somebody like, you know, I'm like we'll get to Parkview Christian in a moment, but I had something to add about them. Any girl scores that shocked anybody? Do you have some, Derek? I didn't see anything that really shocked me terribly.
You know, the team right now, I think senior high getting off to a 1-0 start early on this year. They beat Bellevue East. You know, that's a team that I think they won 1 game last year. So they started out right away. They beat Bellevue East and 48-38, but then they did lose to Lincoln East after that. But still, good start for them. But I tell you what, Grand Island Northwest girls basketball team is looking pretty good. They got a lot of depth. They've even got a freshman playing a lot of minutes there too at the point. So that's going to be a team that'll be interesting to watch. I think it's kind of you know, an early favorite or early surprise in my take. They're 2-1 right now. They beat Central City, and
that's a good basketball team.
That's a very good basketball team. And then they also beat Crete. They did lose to Norris. They did get a little humbled by Norris, but 2-1 start for that team is pretty good, I think.
And Mike Herzberg isn't coaching anymore, and you know, the gentleman took over is doing a terrific job. So I think they might be the best team in town. I'd like to see them play GICC, and they don't play them.
Yeah, I refereed the Northwest game.
Oh, you did?
Okay. Had that, and in fact, I worked the GICC tournament earlier, and then did that night. But you know what was interesting about that was Norris got a lot of things on transition, got some transition layups. And that's how they beat them, you know, at that end of the floor. And in the half-court game, I think they could have got Norris in a half-court game, just couldn't do it. And so if you couldn't do that, that's why it kind of got out of hand, I think. You know, talking about the game that surprised me is tomorrow night, Thursday. St. Paul's playing Wood Rivers girls, and they're both undefeated, I think. Is that right? I mean, I think if you looked it up, I think St. Paul's girls are 3-0, and Wood Rivers girls are 2-0. And so for this early in the season, for 2 teams, going after each other, and I think that'll be a fun game.
That should be a great game. You have that one.
Yeah,
Are the boys playing there?
Because boys are playing right now.
You know the St. Paul boys are pretty good, so.
Yeah, they're 2-1 right now too.
But that Scud girls, I just want to mention the fact I told you guys before that Doug McDermott's daughter is the post for. She's only a sophomore, but man, she plays like a guy. You know, she's all elbows and
well,
boy.
She probably had to go against the guys.
Well, I suppose, yeah. I mean, you could just. I mean, she's a fierce competitor.
I wonder if she's ever been around a gymnasium much. You know.
Well, I don't think so.
Not on any big games, or is that anything that kind of,
Whew, you could just see Doug. I mean, the dad in the eyes, and I'm going, oh, stay away from her in the in the paint. But anyway, yeah.
Well, Scott was ranked 4th in the nation in volleyball.
Yeah, there's a little.
So you're 4th in the nation in volleyball. You talk about a school that probably is going to be tough in all sports to beat at some time. You know, and they were awful young. Their boys were.
They were. They lost
boys. When they at the starting lineup, you kind of looked at it and thought, well, there's not a lot of. I guess what I'm saying, you didn't see a lot of guys 6'5" and 220 pounds hit the floor, but boy, they could pass it and play defense, and and do some things it made it really difficult for you to score. You had to really work to get a good shot.
They did. They had two big guys that were hurt on that Saturday that were out with ankle injuries and stuff, so that hurt them. But they're going to have to learn on the fly. It's no fun to play Gretna this early, I can tell you that.
I don't want to play Gretna anytime.
I know. And they were supposed to be preseason #1, except for the fact that I guess Stu found out from the World Herald that Papio played them in that Jubilee game and evidently beat them quarter by quarter. So it's a little risky to rate a Class B team #1 overall. So
No, but it's definitely an eye-opener. I mean, having a Class B team that high, and even possibly before that Jubilee, of putting them at the #1. So, I mean, that's definitely going to put a target on Gretna no matter who they face, if it's Class A or Class B throughout the season. So,
Well, excuse me, go ahead.
No,
I was
go ahead.
just saying that it's kind of interesting. There was a time when it was really hard to get ranked in the top 10, and people really disagreed with that. Atkinson West Holt was C1 in about 1987, 88, right in that time, and they ranked them as high as 6th. And this is wrong, they can't be doing that, et cetera. But Bruce Chubbucks Jr. went on and played for the Huskers, and Peacock ended up playing at Hastings College. We're gonna have a pretty good team. Jamie Lohr played football for the University of Nebraska. They had a really good, they had a really good team and a lot of athletes at that time. So I think maybe the World Herald's getting this right, with the Scott women being volleyball, in some of these Class B schools, they're playing the A schools now, and when they're beating them, I see no problem with ranking them ahead of them and having some people in that top 10 that are from different classes. Look at Wahoo Newman's boys; they are really good. The Wahoo Newman boys basketball team is really going to be good this year too, and they beat St. Cecilia very handily. One of the early games, and they beat them last year too, and they had a lot of success. Those and SCOTUS, So go ahead.
well, it's not so. I think people accept the girls' team being rated high. I think Lincoln Christian is in the top 10 somewhere in girls' ratings, maybe even in the top 5. So, I mean, some of these teams won't schedule. That's what I was going to say about Parkview Christian. They've got nothing to lose. They played Gretna in the opening game. I mean, they went up clear from, is it D2? Is that right? Clear all the way up to B. Extra points all the way up. They got 44 points for getting kicked. It's not a bad night.
No, and what's interesting about that, you got to make sure that that Gretna, you play a Class B school that's going to be in the upper division. And what's kind of weird about the NCAA is everybody, no matter who played them, was going to get 44 points.
Yeah.
So I mean, it doesn't matter how good you are.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a Parkview Christian. It's fair, they year in and year out they're going to have a good team. But what I'm saying is, and somebody like the Elba boys could play them and get beat really, really bad. You still get 44 points. It's kind of weird how you get rewarded for losses a little bit the way the state is, but they don't consider it like if you get beat 42-40 and double overtime, or if you just get handed it to you. But at least we have a wild card system that seems to be working fairly well.
I want to bring up something. We're going to talk about boys. This is going to be maybe off the subject a little bit, but this morning I understand, and I don't know when it was, maybe yesterday or the day before, that a young man by the name of Anthony Bratton transferred from Omaha West Side to Omaha South, bang, just like that. One day he's at practice and the next day he's over at Chubby's place. And it's legal because his folks live in the South District, and he opted, open enrollment, to go to West Side to begin with. I don't know how you stop that. It's perfectly legal, but I've never heard of that right, like in the middle of the season. West Side's 0-2, so I'll go play for somebody else. It's legal, though. What do you think? That's a funny situation. You can't, it's just, there's nothing wrong with it. But I just, in my day, my God, you just...
Well, that's the thing, is the generations, they've changed so much to where if I can't play here, then I'll just go over here. And he did have that option as his family lived there.
Sure.
I do wish that there was a penalty for that transition, especially if you're doing it right away. I mean, right in the middle of the heart of the season. If you did this in the summer, okay, I could see that because you're going the full school. But if you're doing it middle of the semester, I gotta think that there should be some type of penalty for that, but I don't know what it would be. I don't know what your thoughts are on it, but it's just kind of, it's unfortunate that that's the way things are going these days, is if I don't play here, I'm just gonna go over here and play.
It's done on the NCAA level. Jimmy, can I ask you something? You were in administration. Is that open enrollment thing, is that not the state of Nebraska that allowed that and not the NSAA, or was it an NSAA thing?
Well, it's open enrollment, it's the state of Nebraska,
Okay, that's-
Department of Education.
Yeah.
But I don't know what the situation is. I know they have hardships.
Yeah, that
There are situations where there's hardships involved. And a hardship can happen a lot of times just because of a divorce or some things like
Sure.
that. For instance, somebody could have custody of a child for the summertime, and the other parent has him the other 9 months. Well, the kid, he might be playing, for instance, baseball at Hershey, and maybe his mom lives in Gibb, and he played baseball for Gibb and Shelton. And I think that's fair. I think that's a hardship.
It is.
And I don't know what the situation is. There are rules, and there's more to the story, I think, than what we're getting, because you just can't play for one team without sitting out some time.
See, that's what I was
So
saying.
yeah, so I want to know, unless there's a hardship. And there could be a hardship, and there's a lot of different hardships. I can't get into all of them, but you could have a situation where a child is being abused at home, or some things
sure.
like that, and immediately need to get that child out of that environment and go to another environment. Well, you know what? The kid needs to be eligible immediately, and if that's the case.
Oh, absolutely,
And that's
yeah.
why the Nebraska Activities, they have some board of directors that will make that decision. They'll vote on those things. And there's rules, there's other rules, like for instance, in the NSAA, if you scratch out of an event, you can't compete for the rest of the day in track.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
But there was a situation where a child qualified in the state track meet. His father died. He had his rosary on a Friday night. So he competed like in the pole vault in the morning, scratched out of the 110-meter hurdles to go to his dad's rosary, and then compete the next later on in a relay. Well, they voted to let him go ahead and do that, and that's why you have an appeal process, because you can't cover every possible rule that would take place. What they don't want you to do, of course, is they don't want you to go out for a team and play for somebody. And if it works out, or you don't like the coach, or you don't like your teammates, or you're not getting to play as much as you wanted, and then you say, I'm just going to transfer someplace else, somebody else will take me. And you can do that in NCAA, but you have to sit out sometimes.
Yeah.
And sometimes if you go from a big, let's say you go from UNK and you're going to go to the University of Nebraska, you're not playing against the same people, so there's different benefits you can do compared to like if you're going to UNK to Fort Hays State, and
Right.
you're going to be just crossing paths just that way. But I think there's some medical hardships that are important. And while we're talking about this, there was a case at Nebraska Wesleyan where a kid played 5 football games, went to fight in the Iraq War, and came back the next year, wanted to play football. And the NAI said, no, because you already played too many games. It's 20%. And the Sports Illustrated ran an article about it, and NAI changed their mind after they came through and said, hey, we made a mistake here, hold it, this kid needs to play. So there's some opportunities. What I'm trying to explain to you is there's just so many things, and I know I got a little winded here.
No, that's great.
But I don't know what the situation is here. And it could have been a lot of different things. It could have been, maybe it's his grades he wasn't following up on his grades. You know what, this isn't working out at this school, we're gonna get this kid back home so he can pass some classes. And we gotta, it could be something like that. I do not know. But it sounds like, if it's just for basketball only, or if it's for track only, if it's for, that's not what they don't want. They don't want a kid to run track at Kearney High, play basketball at Kearney Catholic, and run, do something else cross country back at Kearney High. So we went Kearney High, then Kearney Catholic, back to Kearney High. They're not going to let you do that.
No, and this story just did break today. I mean, the articles are out there, so there's going to be a lot more coming out on this in the later days. So we'll probably be able to do a little bit more, investigative work or research on our end, and probably have a better understanding next week for sure on what that situation is.
And you know what? Some of this stuff is confidential too.
Oh,
there's some really stuff that are confidential.
We may never know.
Well, we don't need to know.
No, we don't.
You know what I mean? We don't need to know. We know the kid's eligible, and there must have been. And you're hoping, and the NSAA and Dr. Tennifer does such a good job with that.
Boy, he does.
He's not going to let somebody, a child, not play that deserves to play. But he's also going to watch it and make sure, And there's some domicile issues. You know what a domicile issue is? Where a family will. Well, we're going to move to we're going to move to Alliance, and they just buy a little trailer there, and they never live in the trailer.
No.
And that's what they're trying to stop. Those things, that's not a domicile change. You're not living in that community. You just had enough money to buy a little trailer so you maybe can compete there. But they don't want you to do that. And so after a while, you have a little bit of time to sell one house to move to another, because it could be a job change. And you think you're going to make this move, and it was in good faith. But so that's the trouble that as well as I do that we've had problems before in the past where athletes have done this and make this move. That's your question. Hopefully, like I said, got off the wind.
That's very good because that was my idea because I know that and when you see something like this that appears like that, just like I did, they're going to take care of it. And I think the NCAA has every good intention in the world. We sometimes will never know, but they do. And like Eric just mentioned also, wait till something else comes out, and if you never find out, it probably everything worked out for the best. So, and we don't need to know. So, anyway, I wanted to go over the preseason ratings. They're not going to change until January 1st. It'd be kind of crazy to try to rate them every week before because teams are just getting started. Nobody in the top 10 from out here aren't away except Kearney. Kearney lost their opener, is that correct?
They lost 0-2, but they lost. They played
good team.
All 4 teams were ranked in the top 10. So somebody was going to be 0-2.
Yeah.
You had a 25% chance of being 0-2,
I like
Lincoln Northeast is number 3, and they lost to them 62-49. But the opener, number 9 Millard West, right below them. That was a good test to start out, and it was a close game, 71-69, 2-point game. So I mean, they're right there.
They were way behind, came back, and then Shea Wyatt, my all-state wide receiver from Millard West, not only steals the ball and goes the length of the court and makes a basket, but he steals the inbound pass and scores in there.
Who was that? Who's that? Your relation?
Shea Wyatt. No, he was on my all-state team. I
okay.
have to say
Yeah, what was kind of interesting about Kearney High too is last year they started out 2-0. They had a 25% chance of being 2-0. You know what I mean?
Percentage, man.
But basically what I'm trying to say is that there probably isn't a whole lot of difference between the two teams.
No.
And I made a comment, hopefully I said it on this show, I could have said it on the Doug and Dad show, that Kearney will be better this year, but they may not have a better record.
Well, that could be.
Because they won so many close games. Like University of Nebraska, what I was trying to tell you guys all year long is that team wasn't much different than the team last year.
That was a good point.
You know what I mean? That they went 5-7 and now they're 9-3, but there really wasn't much difference. They were getting blown out by people when they got beat and when they, and they had a lot of close games they just didn't get. So I think sometimes, the one loss record, that's what we go by. But I will say this about Class A basketball. I was hoping that Grand Island, North Platte, and Kearney, when I looked at it, they are like, of the 28 schools that are in Class A, they are 27, 26, and 28 in the wild card points. And it's not good for out west basketball. We don't want that to happen. And I hope that they'll get that changed around and we'll get that, so sometimes it's just the schedule early and we'll see what happens though. But
I think Kearney's got about the best shot of those 3.
I think there's no doubt there.
But we'd be happy if the outstate, Norfolk would be in the,
Norfolk's
for
a good
me,
one.
so.
Yeah, Norfolk's a good contender. Fremont's got a couple guys, but Norfolk's probably the best out of the Metro team preseason wise that has a chance. But like you said, Grand Island, North Platte, and Kearney, very tough start, but it definitely is early on for them too.
Gretna and Aurora are the teams to beat in Class B. Though Aurora is in that Gretna Holiday Tournament. My gosh, that's going to be an early thing there. Boy, you're not officiating that, are you, Jim?
No.
Or would I like to go see that one?
That would be a good one too. Yeah. You know what's? I think Aurora beat Adams Central pretty handily, and Adams Central turned around and won their game. One of the games is kind of interesting. It was Holdridge did beat Kearney Catholic. It kind of surprised me a little bit a little bit, but I did referee Holdridge in a Jubilee, and they looked pretty good. You know what I mean? The Holdridge looked pretty good in the Jubilee, so what did dumbfound me? The Kearney Catholic girls did beat Holdridge pretty bad in their one game that they played, and so that's kind of interesting. Kearney Catholic's schedule will be very interesting this year, you guys. They played Beatrice, they played Holdridge, and they're moving the conferences, so they're going to play a little bit of it. They play, and they've played Boys Town before. The Kearney Catholic's not afraid to play some people, and their girls, same thing. They'll travel a little bit and they get out and they play too. And it'll be interesting, but I think the Kearney Catholic girls are going to be pretty good, when we're talking about girls team in the area. And I think the Aurora boys, and just in this area, You know, I did hear the men and girls started off 3-0, and I'm really concerned about Taylor Kessinger. I heard she, with about a minute to go in the first quarter, she was going in for a layup, fell, landed on that wrist again, and I don't know. I think they did an X-ray today, and I haven't heard anything about how bad that is. But I talked to Rick Cremosta on the phone a little bit, and he just said, basically, hey, said these things happen. They really do. These things happen. But you hate to have it happen the same athlete twice.
But 2 years.
That goes right there, and because, she had an opportunity, you guys. I'm going to be honest. When they talk about athletes and they go, hey, this person had 3,000 points in their career, 2,700 points in their career. But she would have had a tremendous amount of points, but never had the opportunity because she could have missed some games.
What a great play. She's good for the game, though. That's what. That's what would hurt me.
People would drive all over just to watch play.
I've done it myself.
Yep.
I've done it.
Yep.
You have something to add, Eric?
Nope.
Okay, let's get, as we said, Aurora and York in Class B are your teams to beat around here. Class C2, St. Cecilia, and Jimmy mentioned it, they're 0-2, but good.
They were 0-2 last year.
Yeah, and that's about all around here. And then, of course, in Class D1, I don't know.
Centura got off to a good start. They're 2-1. Dave Ullman's team
Dave
got off to a good start. Right,
they got beat last night, I think, by Central City by 2 points, which, like you
Central
mentioned,
City got a
they're
good start,
a physical team. That boys team, I watched them against Northwest. Northwest played them well. Northwest is right now 0-3. They've had a tough break, but they played Central City very well down to the buzzer there, and that Central City team is very, very physical. If they can get it down into that post, that kid that
he's soft, isn't he, Jordan Pop?
Yeah, he's soft. That's the way to say
right.
it. The fall player of the year for the Independent. It's just like,
Loop City Arcadia got off to a good start, both boys and girls, and Ravenna, both undefeated. I know they played Sandhills Thedford, but Ravenna boys last year I think won one game. They're 1-0.
I know, that's great to see.
Yeah, right, you bet.
The Ravenna girls I like anyway. That's a good, good team. And then in class, I think Riverside is a team in Class D2 we have to look at around here. So.
Yes, Sumner Eddyville Miller got off to a good start. They were ranked in the top 10. They started off. They got a big win over Loomis. I know Loomis is 0-2, but Loomis will get better. They had a tough early schedule with that. I think the SEM Loomis game was key. And I'll tell you a big game coming up this week's Friday, and it's Sumner Eddyville Miller undefeated against Elm Creek.
I was just going to mention.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah, sorry.
Go ahead.
They play Friday, but go ahead. And Ansley Litchfield plays Elm Creek on Saturday, which would be a big game too. So the Elm Creek's got a couple, and then the Elm Creek plays Kearney Catholic. So yeah,
another team getting off to a 2-0 start, Burwell as well.
Yes, good
the
point.
State champions, the football team.
Good call on you. Good job. Glad you brought that up.
That's hard to do as late as they played. And Newman did the same thing. But I want to touch on one thing. I'm going to give you a little praise here, Jimmy.
Okay.
We talked last week after we went off the air about how long Jimmy Langin's officiated.
So
and I want you to tell them what you told me, because I can't imagine how many games you do a year. Why don't you tell?
Well,
I thought, man, what, 50?
You're gonna embarrass me.
No, I'm serious. Yeah. I'm telling you.
Well, I work 4 on Saturday. I work 4 Saturday.
I
mean, that's just one.
This is just basketball too.
Yeah. We want to talk basketball.
Okay, I worked last night, Tuesday. Today I got a call from Mid Plains. They were in a jam for officials, but we found them because I had this show. And so I decided, I said, hey, and I go back to Mid Plains next Wednesday, and I don't want to do them back-to-back Wednesdays. But, I used to work a lot more when I worked college, and my son ended up starting to play at Kearney High, so I did do some games, and he was a fairly good baseball pitcher. So you have to go to clinics to work NCAA. You have to go to them in the summertime, and I just couldn't do that and get away. So I kind of lost some of my college games with doing the RMAC and stuff like that. So I'm pretty much strictly just high school now, which I really enjoy. I mean, when I started out, I was doing high school. And then, I kind of worked some college for about 20 years, and then I went back out. But I actually coached 8 years, at Ravenna.
So that was a gap in it.
A little gap in it. But, I started in '79, and, I played some college basketball at Kearney. I wasn't very good.
Boy, did he.
No, but to make a long story short, is, I probably about 85 games a year.
That's a lot
about
of
85,
games.
yeah. And, depends on, too. Sometimes you do 4 in a day when they get those snow outs and people need help and you're moving games around and you're trying to, holiday tournaments, you'll do 4 a day.
Yep. Conference tournaments too, I suppose.
Yeah, sometimes you will. But, sometimes it's nice just to do 1 a day and get out of there.
But you're talking 24 good years of officiating probably, or is it?
Yeah, I don't know if they're all good. You'll have to ask
Well,
the
no, I
fans
mean,
that, yeah.
I mean solid where you did 85.
Yeah,
you take
yeah.
24 times
Yeah,
85.
I've never missed a game for an injury. I did get hurt pretty bad one time doing a dangerous football game where I had a contusion, a really bad one, didn't heal, and I had to have surgery. But I did have another game. It was kind of interesting. I got hurt like April 8th, and it was at that time when I didn't miss anything. So I never have missed a game. One time I got sick pretty good. I missed a game. I had some upper respiratory, and then I missed a Central 10 conference tournament. Felt bad about that, but it's been lucky.
Well, you got to have a little bit of luck with it.
Yeah.
But how many people out there have actually gone to watch this guy work? I'm not kidding. Have you ever done? I have.
I think they're in the. I'm just in the way.
I
wanted to
tell you because there aren't very many guys that know how to handle somebody in the crowd like you do, and it's a tough thing to do. Because have you ever? I don't think you've ever thrown anybody out from the crowd.
No.
But you know how to handle them, and it's just, I don't know. It's kind of like me playing drums a little bit. There's a little bit of showbiz in it, but you know what you're doing.
Oh, sometimes.
You can kind of mix in a little bit to lighten the thing up, but yet you know what you're doing. So do you have fun doing it?
Yeah, I the other day I caught myself, and I wasn't trying to be funny, but I suppose it was a little wit behind it. But a guy was yelling, 5 seconds. That's 5 seconds. And
In the crowd, you mean?
No, the coach, and I just turned around and said, well, I was at 4.96.
Well, that's what I'm talking
You know what I mean?
about. Right
In other words, it's pretty close, but and like I really could, let's be honest about that. And that was an original. It wasn't like I heard somebody else say that.
That's pretty good.
And and then I had one the other day where I think the Alma coach was right. A kid was going in for a layup, and he probably got fouled a little bit before he started his layup. But they tell you if it's continuation, you won't, even in high school, if he's continued it, you're supposed to give him 2 shots. So I gave him 2 shots. And he goes, hey, that was way before. And I just looked at him and said, I was kind of 60-40 on it. You know what I mean? I was trying to communicate with him, but the crowd was laughing behind me. But I wasn't really trying to. But in other words, I was just, and then I've had him too yell at me. He goes, hey, there was a foul down there, and he traveled down here. And I go, hey, I think you're right about the foul, but the travel, I think you're wrong.
So I mean,
you know what I mean? So I thought I got 50% right.
They light it up.
Baseball one time I remember yelled out. The coach screamed at me, and everybody heard it, so I just yelled back. And the guy hit a foul ball off his foot. Got it? Mm-hmm. And I was out on the field, and my home plate umpire got blocked. And the home plate umpire goes, hey, can you help me? Yep. I said, I'm 90% sure that ball hit his left foot. And this coach says, 90%, that's not good enough. You got to be 100% sure. And I said, no, about 90% is all you can get. A lot of these calls out here are about 90%. And I didn't think that was funny, but the crowd laughed, and then started.
See, now as a baseball coach, now I understand.
Well, people started cheering. But what I'm saying is, let's be honest, we're not always 100% sure, but we got to go with what we think or get instinct. You can't just shy away from, well, I'm not going to stay out of my call. That's not my call. I'm not my area. I'm not going to do that. I'll get in there and do something. But yeah, let's talk about something else. Go.
I want to ask one more question.
All right.
Do you hear everything that's yelled at you?
I'm pretty much aware of everything that goes on. That might be a bad sense, but I think it's a good one too. Sometimes I think I have the ability, I can see a problem occur before it happens. Like if the fouls are 4-0 on one side, I already know if it gets to 6-0, we're going to get somebody's going to yell at us. So I know that beforehand, but that doesn't mean I'm going to make 2 other calls. No. To change it, get it to 4-4 as fast as I can. You know what I mean? Now we got to get the fouls 4-4 because one team might be playing man-to-man defense all over the floor, reaching in, and the other team's in a 2-1-2 zone. Well, you can't get the fouls even because it's not going to happen. One team's cheating and trying to get, when I say cheat, they're trying to steal and trying to get some transition stuff the other way, and they're willing to take some risk of getting in foul trouble where the other team isn't. So the fouls should be even. And I've done that before. Some lady will yell out, hey, the fouls are 6-0, even it out. And the score's like 31-7 their head. And I'll go, you want me to even out the score too? Let's just make the one score 31-31 too. Let's even out the fouls, we'll just make it 31 all.
You have to have an answer for everything.
Well,
this is the showman right here.
Sometimes I can be an ass.
But you got to do it. So, yeah, that's I just want to get this out of the way. This man's really good. He's an entertainment value's way up there. You should be getting $150 a game.
Yeah, that's about what I'm getting now. No.
Yeah, right.
When I work some college, you get some paid pretty good. That's
sure. Right. I hope you can run up and down the court to your 100.
Yeah, I hope I can make it through this year. So.
So, what do you think, guys, about the games coming up? Do you have any, I don't know even know who's playing this week, other than Jimmy mentioned Wood River and St. Paul. And that's tomorrow night.
Donovan Trumbull's playing St. Cecilia Friday. I think that's a huge game. Blue Hill's playing St. Cecilia on Saturday. I think that's a huge game. There is, like I told you about Elm Creek's schedule and some of the people that they're playing, but there's some, doesn't Grand Island Central Catholic play SCOTUS?
They play SCOTUS, that's a big one, obviously.
huge
and then
game. That's a
Lincoln
huge
Christian the
game.
week after, so
Yeah,
that,
that's a huge game. I mean, they're all important. You know what I mean? When you're trying to find a way to win some games, and some teams are going to be 6-18. Well, if they can get a win, they got a couple games. And here's the thing about basketball too, guys. It's true in football. When Central Michigan played Oklahoma State, they got that extra play. Well, actually, Central Michigan led that whole game, and Oklahoma State got a break late, got the lead. What really happened that game, Central Michigan played them for 60 minutes and outplayed them for 60 minutes. I sure in the hell am going to.
People don't see that.
I'm going to give that game back to you. Hell, now, Oklahoma State is better than Central Michigan. But on that day, for 60 minutes, they beat them. Well, sometimes in 32 minutes, you get to beat somebody. You can hold the ball a little bit and get it. And, a lot of coaches have a lot of trouble understanding, hold it. How did that happen? We have a better team, and we got beat by that team. The coaches that mature, they understand that, hey, on this night, that team outplayed me. Instead of sending the film to the NSAA and going, hey, I think the referee screwed me, or some things like that. Sometimes you get beaten, you got to accept it. And I think that's very important, that there's going to be some upsets that occur in the state. And that's what's fun about basketball. And then maybe Holdridge, we're going to look back, maybe Holdridge beat Kearney Catholic was an upset. Maybe it wasn't.
Yeah.
We'll have to see how the season plays on.
Well, and a great example, I think, not necessarily in the high school level, but college basketball. You look at Nebraska when they played UCLA. I mean, UCLA was averaging, 109 points at the time. Granted, it was early.
Right.
But they held them to, I can't remember what the final score was, but it was well under their season average. And granted, UCLA did win, but it was by 4 or 5 points. And then they go and beat Kentucky. That was a win for the Nebraska program. Granted, it's not in the win column, but I thought they outplayed UCLA for those 40 minutes in that tournament as well. So that's a great example, I think, of what you're talking about.
Well, look at Houston football. Houston at home beat Oklahoma. At home beat Louisville. On the road, they lose to SMU.
Yeah.
Okay, let's just understand this. Houston beat Oklahoma.
That was in Houston, but not necessarily at their place.
Yeah, but Houston beat Oklahoma by 14 points. Houston lost to SMU.
yeah, and that's not good.
Navy beat SMU 75 to like 22.
Yeah.
Now, hold it. I think Navy just scored again.
I think they did,
So what I'm saying is there's upsets, and sometimes, SMU beat Houston. Great win for them that night. They're not as good as Houston.
Mm-hmm.
Houston's probably not better than Oklahoma. You know what I mean? But they were that day they played.
That's what makes sports
Yes,
interesting.
it is.
And high school even better, although it doesn't happen all the time. But I like what you said about what's an upset and what isn't. Too early to tell.
Yeah, it might be. And, sometimes some of them are early. You don't know. And sometimes just when you play somebody, sometimes a player's ineligible. Sometimes a player's hurt. When you take one player out of a high school basketball game that's a great athlete, and the team changes quite a bit.
It does. You have to make adjustments. We're gonna. It's not too early to plug the Heartland Hoops Classic either.
Yeah, hit that.
Every single game is a marquee. You've got Omaha South against Aurora. How in the world can you pay? Oh my goodness! And I think Wahoo Newman. St. Cecilia. O'Neill's coming down. I don't know the lineup. We'll go over it next time, but. Boy, that's
Gothenburg's in that.
Gothenburg's in it. My goodness, you just have everybody. I think there's 8 games this year, and you have 2 out-of-state teams coming, Aaron. I think that St. Louis team or the St. Louis team. No, they're not coming. But anyway, the marquee game will be Pepe and La Vista with their 2 Division I recruits against whoever Tino's bringing in from out state. But man,
Yeah, we'll talk about that later.
yeah, that's going to be a good.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
going to be.
maybe we should. I don't know if we can get it to work out. But it would be nice if we could get maybe Tino Martinez maybe live sometime
Yeah,
on the
well, I
show.
think we
I
did
don't know if
last
we could
year.
get him. It might be, if somebody could twist an arm, if he know anybody that knows him really well, we might
don't
be able
know
to
if
make
anybody-
that.
We might have to do the interview in the hot tub. I won't get in, but he is going to be there. So
We got a hot tub.
Also,
I'm gonna get in there today. It's like, the
you
hot
know,
tub sounds good today.
Talking about high school sports as well, you've got the Flatwater Fracas coming up in a couple of weeks too.
That's
Some
a
good
biggie, huh?
good wrestling dual tournaments going on at the Heartland Event Center as well. So.
If we're gonna talk wrestling, you guys, we're gonna have to get some wrestling coaches or some people that know. It might
I
be a
don't-
good idea. I'll have to talk to Erin Martinez and see if she wants to do that. But she might want to do that, but she can't, it's not gonna be me talking about it.
Well,
No,
But
I just
I know they
knew it
start
was
at-
coming up. And
I know they start at 106 and wrestle at 106, and I'd have a hell of a time making that weight.
oh, well, 112. That's the good thing about
I
wrestling.
think
you
it's
know.
113, but yeah, go ahead.
Anybody can compete. That's what I like about that sport. Also makes better football players, so. Well, okay, we've covered a whole bunch of stuff, including the great Jimmy Langin with that striped top on. Next week, we will get a little more into girls. We didn't really, and like we said, we just have to wait until things pan out a little bit. They may not even be clear after next week, but we'll hit on some more of the local teams and that we didn't cover before, and that might win a couple games this weekend. So get out and see a game. They're all over the place. As we mentioned, some of them. I don't know if Senior High's home, Central Catholic is, Northwest. I'm not sure.
We're
But
going
just,
to Centura on Friday. They're at home as well.
so
Who does Centura play?
I can't remember
Okay,
who it
it's
is.
all right, put you on the
but,
spot.
But I'm going to go out there and watch Dave Ullman's team and see how they do.
Good deal.
Centura plays somebody really weird that they don't normally play. So
Okay,
that
we could look it up.
that could be interesting. So
You got that magazine, look it up right now while you're on here. Okay.
Well, that would.
You've
We'll be
got to
right
fill
back.
a little bit more.
I apologize for not knowing who
Yeah.
David Oman's next game is. So, all right, for Eric Williams, D. Jim Langin, Aaron Martinez behind the camera tonight. This is Bobby Mills for the Independent.com with Bobby Mills Sports Talk. We'll be back next week right here.